I want to talk about finding peace after leaving an unhealthy relationship. I tell a lot of women who are in unhealthy relationships, in abusive relationships, that they deserve a peaceful life. They deserve peace. And it's true. It's really true. I want to talk today, though, about finding that peace. Because I think finding that peace or recognizing it after you leave is maybe sometimes a little bit difficult. So, yeah, let's talk about that on my walk today to the sunset. It's going to be beautiful. This view is just wildly beautiful. I love it so much. I come here a lot. Okay, let's talk about peace. What is it? And what are the things that you should be aware of and watch out for after you leave an unhealthy relationship? I think the first thing is that when you do leave, there's definitely a lot of peace right away. There's peace in the fact that you don't have to walk on eggshells all of the time anymore, that you don't have to negotiate with someone who's trying to hurt you. There's a lot of peace in that, for sure. But when you move out or when you leave a relationship like that, there's a lot of chaos still. There's looking at getting proper housing. There's getting your finances in order. Even if you think you've got it in order, you move out and suddenly you've got to support a whole household on your own. Maybe your co-parent isn't supporting the kids financially yet. You're now navigating just the everyday day-to-day life with 2 kids. How do you do that on your own? A lot of times that's honestly a little bit easier than it was when you were in a relationship, but there's still things that are more difficult. It's just a lot. You might be working and just navigating this whole new space on your own and trying to get divorced. That's a doozy. You're also trying to figure out how to co-parent with someone or not, So there's a lot of chaos in that first year or 2 of leaving. It took me 2 years to actually get divorced. It was a long process. And I had a baby when I moved out and I had a toddler when I moved out. So life was just super chaotic when I left. And I think, we feel this level of peace because we are out of a relationship that was hurting us. But we may not realize that, you're still in a lot of chaos. That life, that navigating divorce, navigating co-parenting, figuring out your finances, trying to work, trying to take care of the kids, navigate the grief that comes from divorce and ending a relationship. It's still really chaotic. There's a lot going on. And what I have found, both in myself and in others, is that if you're not careful, as soon as you do start to get some peace and solitude and quiet in your life, you find ways to fill it with more chaos. And that's tricky. Knowing that our bodies just haven't known any different for a long time. They haven't known a life without a lot of chaos and a lot of walking on eggshells, a lot of fear. That's what our bodies have been living in for years in these relationships that we've left. And suddenly you don't have it. And I think if you're not careful, you can just fall into finding that in other spaces. What happened for me is I started opening my eyes up to the places in my life that were filled with chaos. And I was like, why am I allowing this? After I had gotten rid of this really bad relationship, I started to see how my work was just draining me. And it wasn't an abusive relationship, but it was pretty damn close. I found myself crying on meetings and drinking all the time just to try to cope through my workload that I had to take on. And I started to realize wait a second, I don't think I want this in my life. I don't want this level of chaos coming from my job. It's not worth it, And I started to see that in other places in my life, in the way that I showed up for friends. I had to relearn how to be a friend because I had I had always, like, when a friend had a problem, I was like right there to help solve it. And I got way too into it. And I'm sure a therapist will explain away all those, like, explain what that exactly is. But to me, it was a way it was just keeping chaos in my life. And I thought I was just being a good friend, but it was like really draining to me. And so I suddenly was looking at my career, my friendships, a lot of things around me and going, wait a second, this is a little bit more chaotic and not as peaceful as I want it. I looked at my day-to-day life too, and I'm like, how can I calm this down? I've been used to just go for years and years and years. How can I slow things down just a little bit? We don't all have the privilege to slow it down as much as we want to. I know that. But what were the small ways that, I could change things? I could make things a little more peaceful. I'm 4 years out now from leaving that relationship, actually approaching 5, which is pretty wild to me. I just started therapy finally. I feel like I didn't even have this capacity to handle it those first years. And I'm glad I'm in it now. And there's a lot more peace. I was thinking about it today as I was walking here. Life today looks so much different than it did 4 and 5 years ago. Part of it's because my kids are older. That definitely changes things. But I've also made a lot of choices in those 4 years since leaving to continue to bring peace into my life. And it's just, it's pretty crazy. So if I could just give you some tips. As you leave this relationship, as you step away from it, just do a lot of reflection. A lot of reflecting. Write things down. Don't stop writing things down, because hopefully you've already been writing things down, but write things down. Move slowly and try to seek out more peace in your life. I think we're used to so much going on in our lives that we don't even know what peace feels like. And so I think we got to keep looking for that. When I say peace, I don't think that means that life is just perfect and dandy and wonderful and fine and happy and glorious and nothing bad happens. Life's been hard in these past 4 years since leaving. Oh my gosh, the geese are coming in. Life's been hard in those 4 years, but I think I've come to accept that, like, life has a lot of hard things in it. It just does. And they're just a part of our life. And we need to find that peace and space so that we can show up in life the way we want to. So we can show up during the hard times in the way we want to. I don't know, I hope that makes sense. Let's look at the sunset now because it's beautiful. It's not as vibrant as sometimes it is, but it's still very pretty. My hands are getting cold. Fingers are all red. But it's like 46 here, which is like a summer day in November here in Minnesota. So that's why we're out here today. Okay, have a good one. I don't have coffee to show you today, but I do have my dog. That's fun. Penny. She really doesn't like the camera, actually, so. All right, have a good one. Guys, look at this view.